Yes, excellent. So now that it's 8 o'clock, we can say that it is time for Slichot. I'm going to take it from what Janet just said. Of course, we have services at Shirat HaNefesh for the night of Kol Nidre on Sunday evening, and also the morning of Monday at 10 o'clock. And then when we resume in the afternoon, we're going to have a number of activities. And then after that, at 4:15, we're going to have a review of the Slichot session. Please remember, like Janet said, that we have a different link, not the link that you're using for this. If you were to consider coming for that, we're having members of Shirat HaNefesh that are going to be reminding us of the beautiful experiences that we had. And now that Michael Kasper arrived, we can begin. All right. So tonight we are talking about something different that we are being used to. What do I say by that? Most of the times when we remember and we want to be eclectic and not thinking about only Ashkenazi music, which is 99% of the music that we hear in North America, then we say, okay, if it's not Ashkenazi, it might be Sephardic. In fact, I still remember very, very vividly when I was at the University of Texas and I received a call, and the call was like this: we're coming from the Jewish Community Center, and we realized that now there is this 500th anniversary of the expulsion of the Jews from Spain, and we have no idea. So do you think that you can come and talk about it? Do you so that was big, 1992, big because apparently Sephardic Jewry became a little bit part of the world of America, North America, should I say. Yet, surprisingly, with the exception of a few of the members of the Vitale family that I see here, many may not actually know that the Italian Jewish community is actually the oldest, the most ancient community in the Golan, in the diaspora. And many of you may not even know that Italy was not a country until 1870. So to talk about countries is actually not entirely correct. Within that, it's not surprising then that communities such as like the Roman community, perhaps the ancient of all of them, have a unique right, a unique way of actually doing things. I'm going to take myself just a little bit of time to give you some idea of this, because the Italian community is emblematic of interaction between not only different layers of the Italian Jewish musical memory, which is what I know best, but it is also important because you might not be surprised when I say that there is such interaction, for instance, with the Vatican, right, with the Catholic Church, and with other and even with the Austrians that were governing what was then until the Risorgimento, until the time of Italy becoming unified, where also has influences. And it's also not surprising that you could go to different places. If I hope very soon we all go to Italy to see that the Sicilian community has roots that are very different than the Roman community. And if you go to Venice, for instance, you'll find that there are at least 5 different synagogues, and all of them respond to different rites, to different traditions. And then, of course, think of the Firenze, of the Florence community that once had what we call the Roman tradition, and then it became with the coming in the early 1500s of Sephardic Jews, change its way of praying. So all this makes this community fascinating, until, of course, things began to somewhat unify. So in 1904 in Rome, you have the case of the so-called the Tempio Maggiore, the major temple, right? And that brings together the traditions of what they're called the Cinque Scuole, the 5 schools, the synagogues of the ghetto that were preserved, the rituals of several communities, different ones. And like I said, the Roman Italian tradition, or the Minhag B'nai Roma, as it is called, is the oldest of all of them. What I would like to do is, you probably say, so now that we know a little more about these creatures that do not belong to the Sephardic world or to the Ashkenazi world, what do they do? How do they sing? What are their ways? So I'm going to permit myself to give you a few examples. I'm going to share my screen simply because you'll hear better when I do that. And here, for instance, this is an example of Lecha Dodi, that you're probably familiar because many of us at Shirat HaNefesh have sung it, and Kolot Alev has actually an arrangement, a choral arrangement that I wrote for this. So you begin to see some of how this works. There is a chazan, sheliach tzibur, somebody that leads the community, singing the verses, and the choir or the community as a whole sings the refrain. You're probably surprised to hear a musical instrument, an organ. This is true because in the late 19th century, with the advent of choral music, which also did not happen until that time, with the coming of some of the operas by Giuseppe Verdi and others, it was not customary to use musical instruments, and it still isn't to do that. But you will hear for weddings and other occasions that an organ in this Tempio Maggiore, in this major synagogue, is used. Let's listen to now how some of you may be intrigued to know about the so-called Ta'amei Amikra, or the signs for the reading. How do they read from the Torah? So here it is, since we are coming close to the beginning of Simhat Torah. Here is a little bit of the version of the Torah reading for the first of the Parshiot of the year.
Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz ve'aretz hayedata uvavahu ve'chashech al pnei te'am ve'ruach Elohim מרחפת על פני המים, ויאמר אלוהים יאר ויהי הר.
So that's an example of the reading from the Torah. And we're going to do one more thing, which is to listen to the Kiddush. How is it recited? Simply just to have an idea of how the blessing for the wine sounds.
יום השישי ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישבת ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו.
כי בשבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות
סברים מרנן
לחיים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן.
Right. So you probably notice a few things that are unfamiliar to many of us. The introduction of Savri Maranan before the Kiddush, and the fact that the Kiddush doesn't say Bore Peri Hagafen, but Bore Peri Hagefen. They are so you know, many traditions. Yemenites would not say any of that. They would say Bore Peri Jefen. So they are fascinating different stories. But I think we have to now get to the song that I wanted to bring to you today. It's called Yafutzu oyevekha. We're going to hear it once I have the transliteration. I'm going to do the best I can to be showing you where we are. In my opinion, one of the most beautiful Italian melodies. Here it comes. yes, I think you get an idea of this. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see you all. Um, an extraordinarily beautiful melody. So extraordinary that it actually got into difficulties in the rabbinical community. We had with Rabbi Gila the other day, we were discussing the elements of the famous Ashkenazi Kol Nidre, or in Aramaic, Kol Nidre. So we were talking about how that particular piece that we are going to be singing, chanting together before the service, the evening service of Yom Kippur, actually needs to be done in that way, because it's kind of like it's something that has gotten the Jewish people into perhaps some big problems. The idea of claiming that the nedarim, the vows that we have offered, right, were null and void, basically, right? And we have, in fact, 3 people, and we open the Aron, and we do everything to make sure that is sharir v'kayam, that is actually a really binding declaration. It meant for non-Jews to claim that, oh, Jews go around and they say whatever they want, and then they go to the synagogue and they declare all the vows null and void, and they go on with their lives. This was problematic for the rabbis for many reasons, especially because people, did not understand that those vows were vishgaga, those that we did inadvertently, not the ones that we actually meant. And the second, that it was between Bein Adam le Boro, between the human beings and God, and not between us. So all these things, subtleties perhaps, were missed by most of people. And so the rabbis felt that this was actually too complicated, and they preferred to avoid the matter altogether, except that then came that magnificent melody that that people could not live without. And so people actually voiced their disapproval of finishing with Kol Nidre, because Kol Nidre was actually such a beautiful melody, and in some sense what they were saying, they couldn't care less of what the text was about. This is not dissimilar with what happens with Adon Olam, where when I ask people at lectures if they know melodies, they raise their hands and they say, I know 20 or 25. And when I ask them, what is Adon Olam about? They say, ooh, let me think about it. Right? So this is another of the reasons why rabbis felt that music may sometimes come against the understanding of text. With Yafutzu oyevekha, with this melody that you just heard, we had something similar. This is a melody, a text actually, that as far as we know, was printed for the first time in 1545, a long time ago. And if you go even to Livorno, to Leghorn in the west side of Italy, it was actually sung as a hymn for the opening of, not surprisingly, of the Aron HaKodesh, of the Ark, because it was done before the reading of the Torah, and then it became in the same way of Aleinu Leshabech. Those of you that remember that text was once the text for the so-called Malchuyot of the Rosh Hashanah service, and became so popular that it was actually included in every single service at the end of the service. In the same, this happened, this perhaps because of this melody, is that people wanted to have it more than once every full moon. So they decided to include it also in the holiday, again, of Simhat Torah, because that was a time when I'll tell you in a minute of how the Rimonim with the Sifrei Torah were actually brought out, and the text of this song, of this poem, has a lot to do with the Levites, and it has a lot to do with Aaron, the priest, and the idea that we were evoking the tradition, those traditions, making them alive. Then it wasn't enough. So this particular text was actually introduced at the very end of Yom Kippur. Why was at the very end of Yom Kippur? Because at the very end of Yom Kippur, there is a tradition in the Italian community, more specifically in Rome, that in order to make sure that that we would arrive to the end of the day, this year 742 for us, and when we could actually blow the shofar for the last time, if the service would have ended earlier, then what would we do? So that is what they did. They sang Yafutzu, oyevekha, and they brought the Sifrei Torah out of the ark, all of them, in some cases probably more than 15. And so with all that, they would sing Yafutzu, oyevekha, and then they would actually blow the shofar. Can you just simply imagine what that would be? We should only try it at Shirat HaNefesh and see how we can do that. But so why am I saying all these things about Yafutzu oyevekha? Because again, people were not satisfied with the fact that this melody was sung at the end of Yom Kippur. So what is that they do? They actually request that it would be actually sung at weddings. And this is where the rabbis kind of like hold the line, and they said, this is not the text that actually is part of a wedding. So I'm going to share the screen one more time and show you the text that I was referring to, and tell you that Yafutzu oyevekha binso Aaron, all those words probably resonate for you from the time when you open the ark during the Torah service. Of course, it makes a lot of sense. And it actually invokes the dispersion of the enemies of the Jewish people. And then, as Italians only can do, they says, and your whole entire people are going to sing to you, God, a pleasant and vibrant song. And then the first of the stanzas talks about the priests and the time that how they dressed and how they were pious and how they brought to the temple the tumim, the urim, the different parts, the shechelet and the helvena, the different incense that was used in order to make the experience with all senses. And then, of course, on the last of the stanzas, reminds us of our ancestor King David, where we know the Mashiach, the Messiah, will come, invoking then, right, that from the time of the remembrance of the times of the sacrifices, we will actually come back singing a song to God. And so the rabbis felt that perhaps this was not entirely proper for a wedding. And I will leave that at that because simply, among other things, I'm running out of time. But what I wanted to finish is to actually sing together this beautiful piyut. And by that, we're going to learn. You notice that in here I have two lines that are bold. And the reason why they are is because that is where all of us are going to be singing together. So this is what you will be singing. I think properly as we finished with this Slichot sessions. And it goes like this. Yafutzu oyevekha v'nesoron uvnucho amecha shir mizmor yaron. Sing with me. Yafutzu and then I'm going to sing one of the stanzas. Yom brucha sidecha shira b'neima goy al kol uma shevach ve'yitron uvnucho all the way up. Yafutzu oyevekha v'nesoron uvnucho amecha shir mizmor yaron. And the last of the stanzas. Vavur avdecha David ben Yishai shlach meshichecha uchayo b'Yerushalayim Please sing with me. Yafutzu oyevekha v'nesoron uvnucho amecha shir mizmor yaron. So this is Yafutzu oyevekha, everybody, and this is what musicians live for. This is what we do when we find something like this. We know that God is with us, and I hope that God is with you as well. And I hope that you are sealed in the book of life. And once you are, you can sing Yafutzu oyevekha. And once you do, you remember that we're still not done. And there is the time that the messianic time will come when all the inequality that we are experiencing and all the racism that we are suffering, that it will be gone. Until that day, I hope that that we continue together singing and learning. We are planning some Ushpizin sessions for 5 nights of Sukkot. I hope that you join us for that as well. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for making this Selichot series something way beyond my wildest dreams. But as Herzl would say, Im tirtzu ein zo agada. If you want it, it will not be a dream. So I hope, as we always say, Laila Tov to all of you. Thank you so much. I hope you have a very good night. And when you go and listen to this, keep singing Yafutzu oyevekha at weddings or another place.
Thank you, Chazan Ramon. I want to commend you for this incredible series. It has been such a rich and wonderful fabric of slichot like we've never had before. It has been an extraordinary outpouring from all over the world, and you put together something magnificent.
Wonderful.
And we hope those of you who are able to join us on Yom Kippur afternoon at 4:15, Chazan Ramon will be wrapping up all these slichot and kind of looking at them as a whole. If you want the Zoom link, please register for High Holidays on our website, www.shirathanefesh.org, and you will see the link to the High Holiday registration, and we'll send you out all the Zoom links that you would need. You can just drop in for whatever it is that you'd like to drop in for. If you'd like to make a donation in honor of Chazan Ramon's unbelievable effort at putting this all together, we would be very grateful for any of that. You can do that also on our website. And we want to wish everybody a Gamar Chatima Tova and a truly good year ahead.
Thank you. And if you happen to come on Kol Nidre night and on the rest of Yom Kippur, and I see you, we're gonna sing this lichot. No, seriously. So come, so we can bring all that we have learned together to final prime time. Okay. So again, thank you so much for being here. Some of you probably every single night. So since that day, who can believe August 23rd, all the way to tonight. And then hopefully we'll continue doing this for many years to come. Laila Tov, Shana Tova umetuka. Be well.
Bye.
Thank you.